Hello BookTube, welcome to Lizziefayelovesbooks. I'm Elizabeth, and this is going to be a review of Twerp by Mark Goldblatt. I enjoyed this book, but at the same time it gave me some angst. I read it because it's one of the Florida Sunshine State Young Reader Award finalists for the 2015-2016 school year, and I think it's definitely worth reading. There were some parts in it that were frustrating, mainly because of the life choices that the main character made. This book takes place in 1969. I was 4 in 1969, so I don't really have any memories of that. It's about a group of boys. It kind of reminds me of The Sandlot. You know, it's about 6 boys who have a vacant lot where they hang out and they carry on and they do their thing. You know, they do what boys do, but they make some poor choices along the way. And when the book starts out, the main character, Julian Twerski, he's just come out of detention, I think a week-long detention, because he did something bad. We don't know what he did exactly until the very end, but his English teacher tells them that if he will write about what he did, he can let that be his English grade instead of doing a report about Julius Caesar. And he says he hates Shakespeare and doesn't want to do a report about Julius Caesar, so he's definitely on board with writing about his experiences. Well, he starts out saying, you know, look, I know what I did was bad, but, you know, really, it's not the worst thing I've done. And he starts talking about other bad things that he's done. Well, right off the bat, it's a thing that I really hate, I really despise. So it's like, oh, good grief, do I have to read about this? This is terrible. And then it gets better, and it's a little more enjoyable after that. But then the very end thing, which is what started the whole thing, it's pretty bad. And I'm like, why do I have to read about this? But, you know, all in all, it really is a good book. I think if you have any issues at all with bullying, or maybe for a middle schooler who maybe is guilty of bullying and doesn't really realize it, or doesn't really realize how bad it can be, this is a really good book to look at it from the outside, because you see it from his point of view, but you realize that, oh my goodness, this is terrible. What you did is terrible. And so I don't know. I don't want to give anything away. You should read the book. I got kind of tickled because Akos from Akosawake she read and reviewed this book before she started BookTube. She wrote me that she had reviewed this book on her blog. So I looked that up and I read it, and she says, I started out hating this book, and then at the end I still hated it, but I loved it. And I get that. I totally get that. I have those same feels. So if you want to know what we mean by that, you need to read this book. It's not very long. It's just a little over 200 pages. And I definitely think all middle schoolers should read this book. They really, really should. Because middle schoolers can be rough on each other. They really can. And I think when you read this book from this boy's perspective, it kind of helps you to stand outside of the group and look at them, and you might have to do some soul searching and think, whoa, have I done anything like that? Wow, I sure hope not, and I'm sure not going to do it from this point forward. So for that reason alone, it's a great book to read. So if you want to know more about this book, I will link the Goodreads page for this book down below, as well as a link to my Goodreads page. And then I also did an overview of all of the Florida Sunshine State Young Reader Award finalists. You can find a link to that video down below. So I hope you're having a great day. Read a good book, and God bless you.